As much as we try, makeup doesn't always come out on our schedule, and therefore it's not always easy to do a video of all Dior or all Chanel. The holidays it's easy because they all come out with collections, but the rest of the year those kind of collections are kind of rare. So this is going to be one of those hodgepodge videos that has a ton of different products in it that are new. um, I think they're all new at Sephora, but I wanted to just show you some new products that I have been trying out and that I really like. Some of them are just new colors, some are new products. So if that sounds good to you, then I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, follow along, shop my links, all that goodness. Unsolicited advice on YouTube and on Instagram. Okay, let me get my base out of the way because I've already done it so that this isn't a 6-hour video. I did my Dior Forever concealer and my Dior foundation stick. I did my brows with the Make Beauty Infinite Brow Sculpting Gel, and I did just a little bit of bronzer, no contour today, with the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Drops, which these are really good. I feel like they kind of get slept on sometimes. I don't always see them readily available at Sephora, but I do believe they're on their website. Oh, and I also did my Pat McGrath under eye setting powder, just under my eyes, but I also put some on my eyelids because it's a very thin powder, but it absorbs oils, and that's important because today we are looking at a new release from Fara Homidi. Now, Fara Homidi kind of broke through last year with her bronzers. They became really popular for their unique colors and unique textures. And then she has kind of a weird foundation product, some lip products, things like that. But she has come out with a pair of eyeshadow trios. Now, there's this one, and then there's another one that's identical to this one, but instead of the blue, it's a black or a super, super dark brown. I kind of wish that she had done different colors, but it's just this color that's different. And what makes this kind of special is it is a cream formula. They call it cream to cashmere. It's very unique. And so we're going to take a look at that. And that's why I put just a tiny drop of that Pat McGrath setting powder on my eyes to remove any moisture. So we're going to look at that today. We're also going to look at the shade extension of the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Blushes. They've come out with 3 new shades. I picked up 2 of them. This is my favorite liquid blush product, and so we'll look at those and look at how they compare to others in the line. And then we also have new lip liners from Kulfi. These are their new staining lip liners. I've got 2 colors. I think they came out with around 8. And I also picked up a few more colors of the Kulfi staining, what is it called? The Lassie Lips Staining Lip Oil. I really like these. They don't dry out your lips. They're very hydrating, and they leave a really nice stain behind. So let's get to the Fara Homidi. So Fara Homidi kind of became big last year with her bronzers, and they came in the little compact, and then if you ordered refills they came in a plastic version of the compact. It's not as nice, but it's a plastic version and it's fully usable. I have 2 colors and I really like this bronzer. It's a real creamy emollient bronzer and the undertones are really unique for it. That one's almost more of a contour. But then this year she's released these eyeshadow compacts, and I can already tell you that if you have the bronzer, you already have the compact. These are the same size, they fit the same, they work the same. So for me, I'm just going to keep my bronzers in these because I want the mirror to go with the eyeshadow. So the eyeshadow trios, like I said, there's 2 of them, and there's this one. And then there's one that has a blackish brown. I don't know if it's black or brown, but instead of the blue. And what's really weird about this is it is a cream formula. It kind of reminds me in texture to like the Westman Atelier, like Peau de Pêche, or I'm trying to think of what else has a similar texture. Maybe like the Chanel cream to powder blushes. But one thing they're advertising online is that this is not crease proof. And they're kind of using that as a selling point. And I thought that was really interesting. But the point is, it's supposed to look lived in and hydrated, and it's going to crease, and be okay with that because it gives you like that sexy, lived in, glowy eye look. So these are pretty expensive by themselves, but if you just buy the refill, they're about $50. And so that's why I just bought the refill. And they also come in these little compacts. So you really technically wouldn't have to have this compact, although it is really nice to have, and it has a nice mirror on it. But you wouldn't have to. So what we're going to do today is 2 looks to try to show you some versatility with this product. And I noticed when I wore these out, because I did wear this out the other day, and I did one eye with nothing, and then one eye I just put the thin layer of the Pat McGrath setting powder, well, under both, but then over it. And that one did not crease quite as bad. But the point of these is that they're supposed to look lived in and unique. And I thought this color story looked more unique because of that really interesting blue. So let me go ahead and swatch these for you, and maybe you can see the texture on my fingers. It's really an interesting texture, and let me swatch these for you. Really creamy, a lot of stretch to it, and it doesn't feel like any other eyeshadow I have. I thought maybe it would feel like those elasticy kind of mattes from Prada. It's much softer than that. It really is, think like the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate. That's an interesting kind of comp, at least as far as texture is concerned. So I think that if you like those kind of products, then you'll like this. But I've never actually felt something like this on my eyes. Now, Fara Homidi is selling a brush that goes with these. It looks fine. But I found that the little Merit double-ended brushes that I always pick up at the Sephora sale work really well with this product. They're a very similar shape. So let me pull you in. You know it's not going to work. You know it's going to come. Zooming. Yep. See? We know. Okay. Let me pull you in, and we'll just do 2 eye looks with it. And there's only so much you can do because it's a very small palette. But let's do this one brown with just an accent of the blue. So I'm going to take this middle shade here. Again, a very interesting wet texture. But then it kind of dries down to something like a powder, but it never fully dries down. I can see people really loving this or really hating it. It did crease. I mean, I told you that. The powder did help a little bit, doing the sandwiching of the powder with the product in between. But if that's something that really drives you crazy, don't buy it. It won't work for you. I'm going to grab a little bit more of the brown just to do under. I.e., when I say that, there's absolutely no way this product won't crease. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with this chocolate brown that's on the top here. And I'm just going to build up some intensity along the lash line and create a little wing. These work really well with a brush like this that's more dense. They work really well with your fingers. But it's a movable product. It's not supposed to look perfect. If you're trying to get a perfect look, you're probably not going to get it. It's more I guess, user-friendly, and it's supposed to give that effect that you've been wearing it for a while and it's lived in. Now I'm going to kind of deepen up this corner a little bit. And that actually is a really nice brown color. Very neutral, both of them. So that's really cool. Now, what I'm going to do on the smaller side, let me wipe off my brush, is do an accent color with the blue. So let me grab some of the blue. And one thing that she is showing on her website was that she really likes to mix the colors. So if you mix this color deliberately with this kind of caramel color, you get something that's like kind of a 90s grayish white blue kind of color. And I'll show you in a second, because what I'll do is I'll put just a little bit of it in here. And you can see what begins to happen is the blue kind of melds with that brown color and creates this kind of, I wouldn't call it off-white, but it's kind of a grayish color. It's a unique color. But if you want to keep it more concentrated, then just do like I've done here and keep the bluest part towards the center. Or towards the inner corner. But what this has done is created this kind of creamy gray color, which is interesting. And you can go back in and modify it. I mean, you can get really unique colors. So if I take some of that gray and I take some of that blue, or excuse me, that brown and that blue, look at that. I think you can really see the texture there. But if I take those together, and I just mix them together, what you end up getting is this kind of grayy color. So you could see that that would be really popular like in the 90s. Okay, so let me grab another brush and let's do a different look, because for the price, you want to be able to have different looks. But so far, I like this one. So on this eye, let's really play in the blue. So I'm going to go with the bigger end of this little Merit brush and just place this all over the lid. And you don't need a ton of product, and it blends out really nicely. Again, she shows it with your fingers, but she also sells a brush that's very similar to this. So I would say, well, if you like using a brush, then use something like this. It just needs to be really dense. On the bottom, what do we want to do? Let's go in with the chocolate color. I hope she does more trios of this. I'm just kind of surprised that to do 2 trios off the bat, that 2 of the colors in the trios are repeats of each other. I guess she's assuming you'll only buy one. The one that speaks to you more. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is wipe my brush off, but not too much. I want a little of that blue mixed in, and I'm gonna grab that camel color just to blend out the edge. And it also, where it meets that blue, is going to turn that kind of pukey 90s color. But it looks cool. You wouldn't think it would, but it does. And you know what? For the inner corner, I'm just going to grab that caramely kind of center color. And I'm not going to mix it because I want it to be concentrated. So there we go. I mean, that's 2 completely different looks. And And you wouldn't even have to use the blue if you didn't want to, and you'd have something very neutral. But what I noticed the other day is if you take a big fluffy brush and like a Givenchy setting powder, my La Prairie, the Pat McGrath under eye setting powder, and just grab some, dust it off, and just blot it on just a little, like that's it. Like I'm not swirling up because I don't want to mix the colors. But this did help it. It still creased, but not as bad. And so it's an interesting product. What I'm going to do is line my eyes with the Lisa Eldridge liner in Burnt Umber. And I'm not going to make it too perfect. I'm going to kind of smudge it up because the point of these is to not look perfect. And then I will grab my Lisa Eldridge in Burnt Umber mascara, which is the brown color. And I'm not even going to curl these because I want it, you want it to look lived in, and it does look lived in over the course of the night. Like I said, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it because it is specifically made to crease a little. They're advertising it that way. So there's two looks with the Fara Homidi eye palette. What do we think? I think they look really cool. I think after a couple of hours, they begin to look like you've been walking in the city all day or you were out all night at a party. I could tap it back in where it creased and it looked fine. But that's a very specific aesthetic that she's going for. It's unique. I mean, that's very interesting. You don't see that. Okay, let me bring you out. Okay, so now that we've done the eyes, I have some other products that I want to show you that are new. And so the first one is there's been a shade extension to the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Cheek Blushes. Now, these come in two formulas. There is a regular and a sort of shiny one. These shade extensions are in the regular, and I have some of the shiny ones. I'll show you for color comparison, but I actually do find that I prefer the matte ones, but I like them both. And the reason I say I like them both is because I still, even if it's not, even if the shiny one is not my favorite and the matte it is, they're both still my favorite liquid blush formula. I've tried the YSL. I've tried Chantecaille. That one's pretty good, actually. But it's more of a gel. But I find these to be the easiest to work with. Now, the YSL ones sometimes can be a little challenging to work with. I really like these. I really like Armani Beauty in general. It's not always the most exciting, but it's really good products. So they came out with 3 new colors. One of them was like a brown, rusty kind of color, which actually would have looked really good with this eye look now that I think about it. But I grabbed the other 2. So the first one is the rosewood color. And it really is just a beautiful kind of rosewood color. Now, the one that I thought would be the quickest comparison to that, from what I have, I don't have them all, is shade 62. So the rosewood is shade 63. So I guess they thought it was the same too. Okay. So shade 62, which is existing, you can see is more cool toned. So this one really is a beautiful rosewood color. This one's more cool toned. They also came out with a 62S, which is the shiny version of 62. and it just has more shine to it. It's also, they tend to be a little bit softer, and you have to build them up a little bit more. That's why I kind of like the mattes, but the matte ones never really look, you know, crusty or dry on me. I really like these. I will also say that I think that some people complain that the lighter colors are difficult to show up, or they take a lot of product. And that's true. I've noticed that. But for the most part, I really love the product nonetheless. So number one up here is the new Rosewood shade, which is 63. And then this is 62, which is the existing mauve shade, and 62S, which is the shiny version of that. So I really love that new Rosewood shade. The other new shade they came out with is number 12, which is, I think it's called Rose Nude. And I'm going to put it down below so you can see it. So it's a much softer neutral nude. There's not a ton of pink in there. There's some peach. It's a really nice color. It is lighter. What I think I'll do today is use both of them so you can see. I think they would make a really beautiful combination together. The only thing I really have that's close to that would be 50.5, which is one of their really popular ones. It's the peach one. But as you can see, and they also have a shiny version of it, it's much brighter, much bolder. I also have the fiery red ones, which would probably be good comparisons for the new bronze shade, but I didn't get that. So I think if you look at these, the top shade and the fourth shade are the new ones. So it's a nice addition, and I hope that they consider, you know, coming out with a gloss, a shiny version of those two new colors, because those two new colors I think are going to work for a lot of people because they're very neutral. Okay, so let's try. I need a little bit of a denser brush. Let me grab a Refer. Come on, kids. I want something denser. This will work. I'm going to grab a 04 from Refer. And what I'm going to do is put the darker rosewood color up higher and then the nude color down lower. So I don't know how this will go with the eye look, but I think it'll be a good way to demonstrate the product for you. So the new Rosewood shade, you can see even in the bottle that it's just a little bit warmer, maybe a little more neutral, where this one's more cool tone. And I have never had a problem with this one putting it on directly. So I'm putting this on higher. But it's a beautiful color. And I think this formula, maybe it's not as punchy right off the bat as like the YSL one, but I think it's so much easier to work with. And I think it's more flattering. I'm overdoing it a little bit today, but you can see that is a really pretty neutral color. Rosewood is a great description for it. Now on the bottom, I'm going to grab the new nude shade, which you would think looks like it's not really showing up on me, but we're going to see, because when I put it on my hand, it did. I'm going to use the same brush because I want an ombre. Yep, that does show up, but it is lighter. So it actually makes a really nice ombre with the rosewood, or it would be really good to blend out the edges of the rosewood. And even the matte version of these, you can see has a little bit of luminosity. It's just not like a glow like the other ones. Back to the eyeshadows. I think that if you're thinking maybe I could put like a glittery topper on it, I'm not sure that would work. I think it might turn into a bit of a mess because they do set a little, but they never set perfectly. So I think that could turn into a bit of a mess. Right now, they're not really creasing very much. I do find that that powder does help them. But I love these Armani blushes. So that's that. And I've also got, this is not new, but I thought since we did the Armani blushes, we could do the Armani liquid highlighter. Haven't used it in a while. And I have mine in the shade 3. So I'm just shaking it up a little bit. This is a fine liquid highlighter. It's not my favorite. But it's perfectly fine. It's really subtle. But it works really well with the liquid blushes. Though I think if you get the glowy version of the liquid blushes, you probably don't necessarily need it. But it does give a little bit of shine there. It's just real subtle. Okay. So that is our little exploration into the Luminous Silk blushes. So the last products that I have to show you today are new, and they are from Kulfi. Not a brand I know a lot about. I like their concealer, but I really, really like these lip oils. They have a beautiful shade range. I don't have them all, but I have a good amount of them. And they now have the liners, and these are also a staining liner. So it's an interesting concept. You don't see very much. They have a little sharpener on the bottom, which I figured out yesterday, and then they click up. So I'm going to show you the two colors I picked up. They have 5 or 6 more. The first one here is called Platonic, and it reminds me of like Westman Atelier's Biscuit, maybe a little warmer. But you can see that that's a great like 90s color. The other one I grabbed is Flames, and this is kind of a neutral rose color. I might wait for the Sephora sale if I want to pick up more, but I really like these, and I noticed when I tried them out the first time, they do leave a stain. So what I'm going to do today is put the one called Platonic on, and then we'll see how it works. They're soft, but not so soft you can't get some definition. Yeah, I'm going to go really 90s, I think, today with the look. I noticed the other day what I thought worked really well was putting them on and then waiting a few minutes before you put the lip oil on. Okay, so I'm just creating like some shading there, but really pretty colors, the two I have. And I'll go ahead and remove them, and you see that you do have a bit of a stain left, so that's nice. Okay, now a product I really love from Kulfi is their, what is this called? The Lassie Lip Staining Lip Oil. I have trouble with lip oil sometimes because they'll dry out my lips, or they're just kind of messy. These are really beautiful. They're glossy, they're shiny, and then if you remove them, it still has a nice amount of pigment. I have had much better luck with my lips lately. They haven't been nearly as dry. And I think it's because at the holidays, my best friend got me the 3 Moroccan oil. They are at Sephora. They're in the hair section with the Moroccan oil products, but they've come out with 3 lip balms, liquid lip balms, and they have a mint, a berry, and like a vanilla. And I've been using them because I keep one in my briefcase, one at my one office, and one at my other office, because I travel between 2 places for my job. And I just applied them through the day, and my lips have been so much better. So I would recommend those if you're looking for like a new lip balm product. And they are, like I said, at Sephora. So I don't know that any of these colors are new, but I picked up a few more colors, and so I'm going to show you them today. The first one I have here is Black Cherry. That would look good with this, really vampy. And then we have Tamarino, which is a brown, with a little bit of like a purple. Then we have Rose, which I think is a really popular one. I think Rose and maybe Black Cherry and Sweet are the ones that are really sold out quite a bit. So this is Rose, which is just a neutral nude. You can see there. I can see why that color would be sold out a lot. And then we have First Sorry. And these are available at Sephora, but if you go on their website, you can make a little bundle and save a little bit of money. First Sorry is a beautiful like plum color, but it's a creamy plum. It's not overly dark. Really interesting. And then we have Sweet, which is another one that I know is always sold out. Sort of like Rose, but it's cooler and a little bit deeper. And then finally, I have Guava, which would be a summer one because it's real bold, but it's still a pretty color nonetheless. And I think there's 3 or 4 more. So these are really beautiful lip oils. They're shiny, they're hydrating, and then they leave a beautiful stain behind. So let's see, which one do we want to do today? Let's do Sweet. I think Sweet would look good with this liner. So I'm going to put that on. And now this liner's dried for a few minutes. So I like that. So really easy, but they're really beautiful. And I'll show you now that I have, well, they're not completely set down, but I'm going to just try to wipe my hand a little bit so you can see what they look like matte. And they leave a really nice stain behind, even matte. So, and I rubbed pretty hard there, and they still leave this beautiful stain. So they look beautiful glossy, but then they also look really beautiful as a stain. And the other thing that's really nice about them, besides them being super hydrating, is that they give kind of just, they're very, 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 very thin, but not so thin that they run. The liner helps with that. But sometimes I find like the Fenty lip stains to be a little thick and they run. These do not. These are probably the best lip stain I've ever tried. But you can see it's a really beautiful product. And if we want to see what it looks like matte, well, let me... You can see on the bottom, it still leaves a beautiful color behind. So today, hodgepodge, probably not as exciting the videos that have multiple products from different brands don't tend to do as well, but it's how the cookie crumbles on the release schedule. There are new products coming. Adept has a new palette that's very blue heavy. Here we go with blue again. That's kind of the color this year, so I'm thinking about doing a blue comparison video. But we do have new products coming, but this is kind of a hodgepodge just to show you the Kulfi liners and the stains, the new shades of the Armani blush, which I think are really, really beautiful, neutral. And then this really interesting Fara Homidi product. Let's see if we have any creasing yet. No creasing yet. But it will happen. And they tell you it will happen. And they're proud of the fact that it will happen. So just something to think about. Lots of new textures, lots of new products. If you enjoy this kind of content, then please consider liking, subscribing, following along, shopping my links. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps out the channel. And share me with other people who might like this kind of product. There's somebody online. I really love her too. Let me see. What's her name? I want you to follow if you haven't already. Now I'm going to say it, or now I'm going to try to find it. It's not going to pop up. Just my luck. Yeah, it's B Shops Pink. So BEE Shop SHOPS Pink. B Shops Pink. And she has a great Instagram and she has a great YouTube channel. Cheeky British lady. And the reason I'm recommending this person, her name's B Davis, is that she loves these. So she's been putting a lot of looks out with these Fara Homidi palettes. And so it's something to check out if you want to see kind of her feelings on it, because she seems to really, really respond to these. But anyway, that's just a little, check it out. And I appreciate you, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody.